I didn't know what this video was going to be about. I just thought, you know what, I'll open up the One Football app, I'll look at 4 or 5 West Ham news stories, and then that will basically create the content for this video. I do it all the time. I think a lot of the time when I do it, there's a lot of transfer speculation. I was expecting more Declan Rice stuff, more Lingard stuff, but it wasn't. Actually, a lot of the news on the app was heavily based upon our Europa League game against Dynamo Zagreb, which is tomorrow on BT Sport 2 at 5:45. Myself and Gio will be doing a build-up from, I guess, from 4:40 to do the lineups and that sort of thing. I'm not surprised, I guess. I shouldn't have been surprised that the news was about the Europa League game. What did surprise me was that so many of these stories, and they all come from different places, by the way, but so many of these stories were all suggesting the same thing. That is, West Ham are going to play a weakened team in the Europa League. And I'm dead against doing this. And when I say so many of the stories, okay, so the point of the One Football app, it's a good point to promote the One Football app, I guess, but the whole point of the One Football app is they're not writing a lot of stories themselves. They will look at all the different websites and all the different newspapers. So what I'm seeing is a story from a website here and a website there and this newspaper and that newspaper. And even so, they're all different stories, but they're all saying the same thing. Which, as I say, which is West Ham are going to play a weakened team. And I'll get onto those individual stories in just a second. It just had me a little bit worried because I want us to take it seriously. I really, really do. I think, what's the point if you get here? What's the point in not taking it seriously? What's the point in qualifying for Europe if you're not going to go for it? Now, I understand that's not happened yet, and I totally accept that West Ham may well be able to play some of our, it sounds slightly insulting, but some of our B players, some of our second, as they would say, as their second roster players, they might say in American sport, and possibly win this game. I get that, and I understand that. However, I just think, come on, let's go for it. Let's get 9 points on the board and then see what happens. The reason I say 9 points is, as I mentioned in the preview, which I did with Gio, which hopefully you watched last night, 9 points gets you qualified, pretty much. So as I say, on the One Football app, by the way, click the link below if you haven't got it, or if you have got the One Football app, click it open, click on the West Ham bit and it's put all the news together. So we'll start off with an article from this, I know, the Sun, but look, it's how it is. West Ham are turning to veteran midfielder Mark Noble as they prepare to take on Dynamo Zagreb in the Europa League. The 34-year-old has not played very much this term, but he may get a surprise start against Croatian champions. David Moyes wants to achieve success in the Europa League, but wants to ensure central midfield duo Declan Rice and Thomas Souček are not overused either. It goes on to suggest that West Ham take on Manchester United at the weekend, which is on Sunday. It says Zagreb knocked out Tottenham in the Europa League last term, winning 3-0 at home in the second leg. Well, I mean, this is a team to take seriously. Now, I've got nothing against Mark Noble, and I expect Mark Noble to be used at some point in the Europa League and in the Cups. I do. This is his final season. However, to start an away game in Europe, okay. So you start to think, well, okay, well, if it's just that, then that's fine. Okay, maybe they take Souček out and it's just Noble and the team remains the same. But how about this? There's other stories as well, all right? One of them is saying, actually, this is a little bit different. One of them is saying that Moyes should unleash, this is from the Football Fancast, Moyes should unleash Thomas Souček in the Fellaini role. I don't particularly disagree with that, by the way. I think that might be a way that we should go. And maybe that plays some part in David Moyes' thinking of why he might not have brought in a striker. But we'll deal with that in a second. Then there's another separate story which suggests that West Ham are going to play Kral in this game. Once again, I don't mind us playing Kral at all. But I thought maybe we'll either rest Souček or we rest Rice for the Man United game and Kral comes in. Then all of a sudden, if you think, well, if Kral's playing, and then if Mark Noble's playing, do you want to go into this European game with a central midfield of Kral and Mark Noble? Well, hold on. Okay, that's fine. If it's just that, then fair enough. But then we go on to another story telling us that Issa Diop will start in this game. There's nothing wrong with Issa Diop. He is a good player. Here's the counter argument. We paid £23 million for this centre half, who was one of the most promising young defenders in Europe and in French football. £23 million defender should be good enough to start and play games in the Europa League group stage, right? I get that, that's fine. But when you start putting all these component parts together, it's like, hold on, the composition of the team starts changing slightly, doesn't it? And then there's another story suggesting that Fredricks would start. Sorry, let me just scroll down this. I'm just looking at the computer, which is just behind the camera right there. Fredricks is starting. There's another one saying Dawson. Another article which suggests that Zuma's going to be left to make his debut against Manchester United. Well, hold on a second. All of a sudden, this is starting to look like a second string team. Everyone's team may be slightly different. But I think if we were to sit down and say, what's West Ham's best team at the moment, we might disagree on the odd player here or there, but I bet you and I would more or less agree. We would probably say Soufal. I know we haven't seen Zuma play yet, but you get what I'm saying. We'd probably say Soufal, Zuma, Ogbonna, Cresswell, Souček, Rice, Benrahma, Fornals, Antonio. You get what I'm saying. We would have at least 9 players the same. If you start getting towards what I think it looks like is possibly going to happen here, and what it's suggesting is that actually those players that we consider to be first teamers, those players that we agree on are not going to be playing in this game, I just think that's a little bit of a waste, really. I think we've had a good start to the season. Completely and utterly swashbuckling? No, but a really steady start. 8 points from 4 games is excellent. I mean, it is excellent. It really is. If you have double the amount of points the games played at the end of the season, you're in Europe again. You just are. Well, whatever. 76 points, whatever it might be. I mean, that's a bloody good season. So I've got no problem with that. It's a really solid start. But that solid start to the season should allow us to be able to sort of press forward and have a real go in Europe. And in many respects, I think even more so now, Man United have signed Ronaldo. That's a bit of a free pass, I think. Do any of us actually expect us to beat Manchester United? I think we feel that we're probably capable. I certainly think we're capable of beating them. I think particularly, I mean, that game, was it last season when we had a tremendous first half against them, and we'll deal with this in the build-up to the Man United game. We had a tremendous first half against them, and do you remember when that ball got played over? I think Pogba, it curled out. It almost went over the dugouts and curled back in. And then they brought on Rashford as a substitute. I thought they were lucky to win that game. Certainly, they weren't taking it seriously. So we can beat Manchester United. We're capable of doing it, but I think they've now signed Jadon Sancho, and of course they signed a Varane and Ronaldo. My point being, it's a free pass. There's been no shock if Man United beat us. Man United should beat us. They ought to beat us. They've spent an awful lot more money than us. So just go for it. Just go for it in Europe. This may not be the case. These stories that I'm reading out may not be the case. And if it was just one story, if it was just the Daily Mirror, if it was just the Sun, if it was just the Guardian, if it was just Football Fancast, just Tribal Football, just any one of these with this story, I would think okay. But for so many of them, to have individual stories, which whilst different point to the same thing, does have me a little bit worried. David Moyes can surprise you. He really can. I've seen him pick teams before, and we've gone on and won games, and when the lineups have been revealed and announced, I thought, I don't much fancy the composition of that team. But it's just got me a little bit worried. I just want us to take it seriously. And anyway, I'll tell you what, do me a favour. Why don't you, in the comments below, and I'll read through them, and we'll have a little look. Why don't you give me your team? What's the team that you would pick for this Europa League game? Because I'd go pretty strong. I said mine in the preview with Gio last night. If you haven't seen it, go and give it a look. But I would like to go strong. 1 or 2 changes, no problem at all. But as I said, if Antonio can't play against Man United, which he can't. Play him in this game. Let's get 3 points on the board. I think the lift that it would give the club and give the fans is immense. And I'm not saying we're sort of in the doldrums and we need this massive lift to increase morale. The stadium's been absolutely heaving. There's been a wonderful atmosphere, both home and away, from the fans. We're taking pride in the team. We're enjoying ourselves as fans at the moment. But the extra lift to think, hold on, not only are we decent in the Premier League, but we've got 3 points on the board in Europe as well, in probably the toughest away game. I just think the confidence you get from that would be absolutely brilliant. So come on, Moyes, the old son. Play a good team. Go for it. Try and win the game. That being said, a draw would be a really good result in this one. Yeah, might not be anything to worry about. These stories might turn out to be a load of old crap, and actually we turn around and we start the game. We see the lineup tomorrow night at 4:40, and myself and Gio are licking our lips and rubbing our hands. Probably not at the same time. Doing that would be doing that at the same time and thinking this is great. Look, there's Zuma there, there's Ogbonna there, Sue Fowles there, and all the best players are playing. That would be a really, really good thing. Actually, really excited about it. So bring it on.